Hi guys, my name is Borodante, and welcome back to the witness number 2 horror game character creation process. We're finally and completely in Substance today. As you can see, the normal maps are looking great. There are no issues anywhere whatsoever. As I mentioned previously, this is my pure sculpting normal map, so it was generated using the multi-resolution mesh as I was sculpting it, so there was no even possibility for any glitches in the thin areas or anything like that, so it's just a perfect normal map. Now, a very interesting addition to what we did in the previous video about exporting your mesh to Substance. Even like this good map would still look wrong if I would add it the way it did last time. Anyway, the way I did it was simply going in this panel called Texture Set Settings. And here we have this channel of normal map, and below is a very important thing that you actually should do every time you start your work on the model, and I forgot about that. So you need to bake mesh maps. All of this was empty in the previous episode. So you go ahead and open this, check all the maps you need, all kinds of smart filters, smart masks, certain materials and rendering effects in Substance are based on these maps that are pre-baked. So you go ahead and bake selected textures, that will bake it for all the meshes, and you have all of this done. But one thing you don't bake, at least in my case, some of you guys recommended export the also high resolution mesh, the high resolution sculpt with millions of polygons, and import it here as well, because you can actually import the high poly mesh. I don't know, somewhere. I never had a reason to use it, so I don't know where it is. And I don't really use it because, again, the multi-resolution inside of one app is always gonna be better than any much better and high quality projection methods of Substance or any other app. That's why I didn't do it. Although it's good to know, you guys told me that Substance has like really good projections of normal maps apparently. But I instead just imported to my project. Yeah, that's that perfect normal map from Blender. So I just imported it to the project and hooked it up in here. And you can see without it, the mesh looks like this, and you add it and it immediately looked perfect here. So that's one thing about it, it reads the map properly right away if you add it this way. And what's also interesting, if you add the normal map here as a part of your mesh, Substance then kind of considers this normal map as the continuation of the geometry of your sculpt, meaning you will never be able to erase it, which is interesting. Like, it's not a part of layers anymore. So even if I have like this material right here, that raw flash, whatever it is, it will change a lot probably in the future, but we have that thing where we have the bump mapping of like the skin a little bit. I'm gonna make it stronger just for you guys, just for you. So there it is. That's the like this leather, whatever the body part of a skin this is, but like this bump mapping, and we don't want it in the flash part because that's not the skin anymore. It was just the base covering everything, and here I want to remove it. So I turn on this material, and its mode right here in the normal. It's called normal, which is confusing, but it's just normal blending mode. Instead of the usual, this one that kind of like combines what this layer introduces and whatever is underneath. But if you choose normal or, I don't know, replace, for instance, as well. And so what I did is I erased all the normal maps underneath and replaced them with this just basic like flat angle of the normal map. This is the color of just looking straight up. But you can see this is still a normal map. And all of that detail in there, those are normal maps going on, and they're not covered up, although they're kind of underneath. That's because they're not really underneath, they're not in the layer, they're defined as a part of the mesh. That's not something your textures are supposed to erase. Anyway, I think everyone, even this microphone, understood what I meant. Now let's keep going. I have layers set up in here, so this basic layer just has setup for my skin. So since normal map is not needed here anymore, then I have just base color in here. Roughness is just a slider, so it doesn't, I didn't define any specific roughness maps in Blender, so it was just defined like 0.45. I kind of like the way it looks. Like the game will have this, a lot of the yellow gamut and a lot of emphasis on just the flesh, like skin. And it will have this special rich color, nice shading, and like with certain highlights that are just right, nice, you know, to feel that fleshiness and like living moisture of things. So a little bit of highlight makes sense to me in this project. And finally, yeah, some scattering. So this is it turned off completely, and that's how sharp my sculpting was initially. And with just a little bit of this thing, we toned down a lot of these tiny sharp details. Yeah, it's just a good way to preview things. So these three things I defined, right? The base color, the roughness, and the amount of scattering. Then I added the skin base on top, which allowed me to add a little bit of the details of the skin, which is, by the way, not set in stone. And yeah, this stuff, it still happens, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's like nothing is wrong, and the scale is not wrong, and the intensity is not wrong, and there's no inverted normals or anything. That's actually because the face island of my UVs is so big in here on UV. Look how huge the face is, and this is the bottom jaw, like it's also really big. And I think these two islands, I may be wrong, or probably these ones, so even smaller. That's how small of a texture it becomes. In substance, we actually see the final result right away. So it's all like baked onto the final resolution of this UV map right here. And that's why we might still see some UV seams if the resolution jump is too big between the islands. If I would really decrease tiling, you would see this line, it keeps going, and this one as well. So it's not a seam, it's just a jump in strength because of the lower resolution. For whatever reason, it happens. And I'm not upset about it because I put a seam in this place for a reason, and I made this island so small for a reason, because this is gonna be underneath the hair, so it doesn't even matter. I shouldn't even spend time talking about it. Anywho, I guess make sure you don't have too strong of a jumps in resolution between your UV islands. Now, what else? So we have our base, then this next layer, yeah, this material I set up, so just like this pale pink color, frozen salmon color. Height a bit lower, so whenever I make, no shortcuts. Oh no. But yeah, here I am. This is this height thing, really cool. You can just overall define whether this layer is cutting into the surface or sticking out of the surface, for instance. So I'm obviously cutting in here. What's up with this glitch? What happened? Gonna have to deal with that. At least it doesn't affect the result. So yeah, we cut in, we draw with like this salmon color, and we lower the roughness to have a strong shine. So I'm thinking like 0.15 at least. It shouldn't look like it was just taken out of the water, you know, but a little bit less than that. Like, it's kind of moist, but it also has certain complexity on the surface, so a little bit of roughness makes sense. And yeah, just flat normal color to erase the texture of the skin, and scattering is even stronger because then it looks kind of cool, like it sort of makes sense that we cut into the flesh, so it's even more translucent. I guess it makes sense, I don't know. Is raw open meat actually more translucent than the meat in the skin? I don't care, it looks cool. So yeah, I'm also thinking to add the fleshy things around the eyeballs here. Maybe we can have a good use of the same material in here. And maybe inside of the mouth, so I'll add that. Simple as that. It's probably best to use something like this. I have no idea. It seems like this is the mouth, right? Yep, definitely painting inside of the mouth. Oh, it doesn't leave a UV seam, right? That is so cool. Yeah, so when I'm painting here at the edge of this UV island, it doesn't just paint on these pixels. It draws this soft circle landed right here. So if it's covering up a little bit of the neighboring island, that's somewhere else. Like, I was painting in here a little bit right now as well. That's what I'm trying to say. That's cool because there is literally no use in painting on islands and leaving these sharp edges of islands all over the model. You know, you do this because it's more convenient to paint in here, not to draw super sharp islands. So that's really cool. That makes the whole UV thing a lot more useful. Like, I'll be using it more frequently probably. I'm too hot. I'm gonna take off something. There, it's dragon time. Now I'm gonna cover up like nostrils and all that with the flash color. Also, it's a good idea to hide the eyeballs now. So yeah, before I put on my headphones and start actually working here, one last layer I wanted to talk about is this holes. So yeah, holes are really cool. As you can see right now, something really changed in an awesome way in here. And that's because I literally draw completely pitch black hole surface to make things completely disappear. There's no reflections and no brightness of the surface. Like, base color should be black, specular should be 0 or black, and emission should also be pitch black. If you do those three things, you will have a completely black surface that never shows up as anything at all. So you can see even like moist reflections right in there. They kinda show up until that point, and then it's just complete black hole. So this is a very useful layer that you frequently need, especially in horror, I think, to add fake holes to your surface. And you kinda need it a lot because, for instance, human beings, they have holes that go really deep inside, but we never sculpt that. For instance, inside of the nose. This should be actually completely black because it shouldn't stop there. This is wrong, very much. Someone would die very fast if they would have nostrils like that. You gotta draw them. So yeah, I added that to be also a deep hole, and that not even really. So yeah, that's looking awesome, I think. And definitely I want to add more of these deep black holes in here. To me, it makes sense because this is that part where, you know, is it just a hole in the skull, or is this a hole into a different dimension from which this god is looking at us, you know? Alright, definitely should add the similar thing to the mouth now, because the mouth actually doesn't have a real hole in there. It's like a weird thing. We, of course, will be able to add a deeper hole later, but I don't really need it. She's not going to be talking or screaming with a lot of an open mouth. It's not an actual mouth, so it's a fake geometry. It's not the hole that it should be, so we also should darken it. Yeah, I also have this smudge brush. By default, is like a default finger tool, like the smudge tool in Photoshop. And same as in Photoshop, I use, like, take advantage of all kinds of jittering. The stronger you make these things, especially angle jitter, because it doesn't really mess up the shape of the stroke all that much, but it does the twisting of the color around, and it becomes like a very aggressive blur tool now. Yeah, that's cool. I like how a little bit of it gets out of the mouth in here. It generally can kind of transition into the lips too. So yeah, I'm gonna add some lips. I'm gonna add some, I don't know, redness and maybe blood or something like that. So we'll see about that. Let's do a little time-lapse painting then. Decided to turn off the height, because if you think about it, we don't really need it, and since I'm adding it on all kinds of places now, I don't really need to curve things inwards all the time. If you think about it, the holes layer has all the reasons to have negative height. So it would simulate going even deeper without having this curvature slightly giving away that the surface kind of wraps around or whatever. So I'll turn on... Oh wow, that's a big effect. I guess it curves the surface inwards this way. Yeah, the holes look bigger. I would love to animate this in the game. That is looking pretty cool. Kinda looks a bit odd in here, but maybe because of the alpha of the texture, I should blend it around a bit. Oh yeah, that smoothes out things really well. Beautiful. And this way, I was also drawing little holes in here, you know, to show like maybe I didn't sculpt it strongly enough with the proper like really deep folds. And I can go ahead and kind of fake that stronger curvature here. This part right here, it now curves in a little bit like that, yeah. So I can actually take advantage of that even more. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah. I should use like a sharp alpha for it also, something like that. Maybe this will be good. There we go. Oh, that's looking like a cut. Oh yeah. Like, we'll see. Hope it doesn't mess up anything, but I think so far it's looking pretty dope with this stronger curvature. Like it's a hole after all. Oh my god. That is cool. Wow. Careful there, not zooming out. Okay, I don't know how long it's been, but it's been quite fun. So yeah, I went all over the hole and most of the wrinkles on the face and inside of the eye sockets. Since the eyeballs are pretty small, all of that stuff will be noticeable, especially if the eyes will be kind of glowing a little bit. All these, you know, normal mapping details, they will be picked up pretty cool. So, yeah, turned out to be that holes layer is very useful in many ways. So, I applied all kinds of like stronger, more believable folding to all the folds and wrinkles and creases on the surface of the flesh here. And I think it's looking a lot more fun now. Like, if we look at the wrinkles on the neck, like this looks almost like just a drawing of the wrinkles, you know, and this is like some of the wrinkles are actually like really folded. A little bit of that extra edge of like a real fold, really sharp something going on that was missing in the original normal map, and I went ahead and added that. And in things like in the edges of the smile in there, I added like pretty strong shadow, and it looks a lot more believable thanks to this little shadow in there. So yeah, like all over the place, these little details making all the wrinkles more true looking. And holes in the ears, why not? Even though probably no one will ever see this. Who knows, maybe they will. I actually don't know what the hair will be in the game, really. Probably really close to what I already have in Blender, but still. So right now I created another layer, and this is like just painting layer, meaning it's sort of a free format layer. So now all these settings for color, height, roughness, and everything that I'll be adding here, they will be just for the brush. So each next brush stroke I make may be of a different height, of a different roughness, and different color. And I want to add all kinds of bumps and little details all over the place. Maybe dirt, maybe molds, you know, maybe just flaky skin, who knows. Oh yeah, that's gonna be pretty damn gross. I need more orange. Oh, oh my god. Alright, well, this is looking like an old person's skin. I made a strong emphasis on the pigmentation spots on this area, because that seems like something I've seen a lot on old ladies, and especially in here. The chest exposed to the sun after years gets a lot of spots, although I tried to tone it down not to take away from the whole. And yeah, some pus floating around, some kind of excretion things. Oh, well, that's lovely. Some spots on the legs worked just fine. I went all the way with them. And so I think it's looking pretty dope. I would add a few terribly positioned moles somewhere, you know, but I need that height, I guess. Also, it should be kinda shiny. Not really. Yeah, something like that. Man, drawing wrinkles like, not even necessarily old people wrinkles, but just wrinkles on the skin, like on the hands for instance. Way better in like texturing mode already. Had no idea. You would think like you should sculpt this, you know, but Nah, this is way better because you don't need an insane amount of polygons for this or anything, you know? It's just a drawing, and you're seeing exactly the final result, like it's the pixels already. Also, it seems like it handles symmetry way better here, even though the model is not very symmetrical. Definitely still gonna have some issues, but not too much. Okay, let's add some redness on the skin and like blood too. Something in between, I don't know. Now I want to have base color and multiply, and that will change the color a lot. Now we're just adding that redness. Yeah, definitely shouldn't overdo it because grandmas are pretty pale usually, right? But I can see how when this super pale skin gets certain like red colored spots, it kind of looks like inflammation or a rash, like something's wrong a bit. I kind of dig that. Oh no, that looks like a smiley face. No fun for you. That's better. Alright, I think we can call it a day. A pretty cool first pass done. I may continue working before the next episode comes, so you guys may see some progress. I'll definitely check out this texture that we have right now in Blender with the hair and properly texturized eyeballs and everything, so that'll be fun to look at. Aside from maybe some extra ideas, like I will be maybe adding actual blood a little bit, but I don't usually go too crazy with that. I will still need that kind of stuff. I'll need blood for like damage on her when John hits her, you know? Maybe certain types of damage would be like specific to the model. We'll see about that. But yeah, for now this is it. This is our progress. So this is base, right? This is what we did setting things up, and pretty much all of the rest is our handiwork. Looking pretty good. I still have yet to figure out, you know, am I doing too little detail or too much? It can be either of those variants, so we'll have to see about that. But yeah, for now this is it. Tell me guys what you think about everything. Do you have some advice or something? And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye! Oh my god, with shadows. This looks a lot more intense. Dramatic or something. Yeah, there will be more dirt from like the soil, because these guys walk around in the forest not completely normal.